Вот, я приехала было летом и сразу попала на партию. Я остановилась в отеле здесь, в Ольдборо, и в Ред Хаус. Я впервые увидела там Бена. Я всегда, когда я говорю о нем, я ловлю себя на том, что я улыбаюсь. Вот это восприятие его от начала и до конца, какое-то невероятного человеческого обаяния. Он излучал это обаяние человеческое, элегантность и простоту. Именно невероятную простоту. Я вообще не очень как-то быстро схожусь с людьми. Мне трудно бывает. Но с Бенджамином Бриттоном у меня это, с моей стороны, это было с первой минуты вот это человеческое общение. И вот именно это самое главное осталось на всю жизнь в моем отношении к нему.
The Rostropoviches returned the hospitality of Britain and Piers and invited them to visit the USSR. In 1965, on holiday in Soviet Armenia, Britain set a series of poems by Pushkin to music for Vishnevskaya to sing.
Бен в это время сочинял эхо поэта. Сочинял, как он сказал, эхо поэта на русском языке. У него был том стихов Пушкина с подстрочником, и Питер Пирс очень тщательно ему каждое слово со словарем объяснял. И это было совершенно феноменально. Когда первый раз он нам сыграл, было совершенно впечатление, что он знает русский язык. Что настолько он проникся стихами Пушкина. Это было что-то невероятное. Каждая интонация стиха.
The last one is the famous poem about sleepless night, insomnia at night, where you hear the tick-tock of the clock going on. And later on, when we'd finished with our festival in Armenia, we were driven by Slava to our peril, across from Moscow to Leningrad, and then down to Pskov, and thence to Pushkin's estate, Mikhailovsk.
It was very late, and my friend, who is owner of this place, he's director, manager director there, we come to his house, and he have some upright piano, very old, and we tired, and my friend tell, I'm so like hear this composition what Mr. Benjamin Britten composed for Pushkin. And then tell, yes, I play for you if you like. And he sits in upright piano, and Peter and Galina play whole cycles, and coming to last song. And last song that's in piano part, he make piano parts imagine that's watch, tick tock, tick tock.
The clock outside the door in the courtyard joined in the most marvelous way. It was like Pushkin's clock going tick-tock, tick-tock, while Ben played his song. It was a very touching, uncanny moment.
You have goose pimples all, and that's real fantastic imagine. That's real echo from the poet.
The 1960s were the high point of Rostropovich and Vishnevskaya's careers in the USSR. He was acclaimed as the country's greatest cellist. and she was the star soprano of the Bolshoi Opera. Under Khrushchev, life for top Soviet artists was relatively free, and Britten and Piers were able not only to visit them, but also to see the life of Soviet musicians at first hand.
We all have a real hope in this moment. Hope that's for freedom, for more contact. And first feeling was very promising. But that's not long. Sorry, that's what we say, that's spring. That's Khrushchev Springs. But that's not long.
I think musical life in the Soviet Union, when we went there in 65 and 2 or 3 times we went there, one was very much aware, of course, of the pressures on musicians and the great demands they were made. I mean, they were treated almost like Olympic athletes. They were expected to win every time and to be better than anybody else. And they were treated in that way. If they were better than anybody else, they had the best time you could imagine. But the pressure was simply terrific, and they were pressurized right from the very word go, from childhood. If there was any talent there, it was pressed out of them. And indeed, that's one way of doing it, I mean. But it's not always done with love, it's done with something approaching force.
That force became more overt after Brezhnev and Kosygin replaced Khrushchev as Soviet leaders. One of the casualties was the writer Solzhenitsyn, who was officially denounced and refused permission to live in Moscow. Rostropovich stepped in, allowed him to stay in his country house, and wrote to the Soviet newspapers to defend the author and his work.
When Solzhenitsyn lived in our house, that we have great danger, my wife and I, because we have feel that's possible if one morning we come to this small house and see that he is dead. Because that's, we worried that KGB possible kill him, or in some accident, or even in his house, in our house. And we must make clear for our position, because if something happens with him in our house, that's always our children, our daughters, and our grandchildren, not clean and not clear, you know. That's why I tell to Galina, we must express our position for people understand this moment with whom we is. And in this letter, I tell very friendly letter. I'm very proud about this letter. I tell this letter that now, that this letter I wrote exactly after Solzhenitsyn threw out from Union of Writers. And I tell why we so punished talented people. Maybe better if we more carefully think about it.
Rostropovich's letter did not appear in the Soviet press, but received wide publicity in the West. The effect on his career was catastrophic.
Government make for me my life impossible for continuity for this life in my country, and same for Galina. And that's why we wrote letter to Brezhnev and asked his permissions for coming for 2 years to the world. Because practically I have no possibility in my stature. Why I tell in my stature? Of course I play concert in small provinces, but in small provinces so bad orchestras. That's incredible low level. And I beginning play verse. I just beginning coming down with quality of us musicians. And that's my wife tell me that's stop, that's impossible.
The Soviet authorities granted them exit visas immediately. In May 1974, Rostropovich arrived in Britain, where he was soon joined by his wife. At that time, he did not know that they were to be stripped of their Soviet nationality 4 years later.
I would like to underline the fact that both myself and all my family remain Soviet citizens.
Я хочу сказать, что я очень глубоко и искренне люблю свою родину и свой народ.
And I'd also like to say that I love very deeply and very sincerely my country and my people.
Thank you very much.